Solid-state batteries are going from hype to reality. And this week on Shift, we're digging into what new battery chemistries could mean for cost and EV adoption.
Factorial Energy CEO Siyu Huang talks about developing a new solid-state liquid metal battery with Mercedes, an innovation that could change the weight and the cost of new vehicles.
With the same energy, we could deliver a lighter pack, which eventually will be able to drive down the cost of the vehicle.
Huang also explains how competition with China is affecting the solid-state market and the geopolitical tensions impacting the arrival of solid-state batteries.
Join us for Shift, available this Sunday wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, this is executive producer Jake Neer here in Detroit. Thanks for joining this bonus episode of Daily Drive. Today, we are talking about something a little different and a little bit fun. I am very excited about this, and so are my 6 and 11-year-old children, because it is Pixar related, specifically Toy Story, and it has to do with what Porsche is doing. They just rolled out 3 custom 911s themed after Woody, Buzz Lightyear, and Jessie, and they were just on the red carpet for the Toy Story 5 premiere. And I'm here with our own Jack Walsworth, who covers Volkswagen Group and its brands, including Porsche for us at Automotive News. Jack, it's so good to have you on this bonus episode.
Hi, Jake. Good to be here.
All right. So I'm, again, like I said, my kids are huge Pixar fans. They love Toy Story. And so I'm especially geeked out for this one. So, Jack, I'm curious how this collaboration came about in the first place, because it's not just Porsche's marketing team cold calling Disney. There's actually a real backstory here.
Yeah, there is, and it's super interesting. And I should say, too, Jake, as a 31-year-old, I'm also pretty excited about this. I grew up with and all those. So I think this is a cross-generational thing from 6-year-olds to 10-year-olds and older. But yeah, so this really goes back to 2006 with a different Pixar movie. So our listeners might be aware that the movie Cars came out in 2006. And one of the main characters in Cars is Sally Carrera, who is a Porsche. And this is kind of really what set all the stuff into motion. So back when that movie came out at the premiere, the life-size Sally Carrera was made. That car is now part of the Porsche Museum in Germany. It's actually kind of on a tour of sorts. It was at the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona back in January. So it's kind of on a world tour. And then in 2022, Porsche built an actual 911, the exact same color as Sally, all the same wheels, every detail from the movie character, brought it to real life. And the car was auctioned off during Monterey Car Week for charity and sold for around $3.6 million. So I think that kind of showed the power of nostalgia for bringing a fictitious character to life when it's something tied to Porsche. So that kind of was the backstory. And then back in 2024, a couple of Pixar executives were chatting with the head of Porsche Cars North America, Timo Resch, at Monterey Car Week, and approached him with this idea of, hey, what if we work again on a project? We'll bring 3 different Toy Story characters to car form, and then again sell the cars for charity. So basically, these 3 cars, was timed back in 2024. Toy Story 5 is now just coming out, so kind of a multi-year process. And Porsche has a department within the company that handles bespoke orders, one-offs, customers wanting to restore their vehicle. It's the Sonderwunsch team, which is German for special dreams, something like that. And so they worked with Pixar to make these cars, or it's kind of punny, but these cars come to life. And it's really interesting. I think Porsche for a long time has been known for having the ability to make customer vehicles as unique as they want them to be. But I think this is kind of like a really vivid example of them doing that for sure.
It's important to note that that was the team that did this, right? I mean, these aren't just slapped together with some decals. I mean, this is a serious effort. So what does that tell us about how seriously the company took this project?
Yeah, I think that kind of really says everything you need to know in a way. So one of the execs from the team mentioned that everything that went into these cars was as if they were a regular production vehicle. So Porsche is not going to offer the Buzz Lightyear paint scheme, but they had to make sure everything would work as if it was for like a regular production vehicle. So it took a lot of man hours, took a lot of time, a lot of development. For the Buzz Lightyear paint, that took over 350 hours in the paint booth. From a distance or in the photos, on our story, you might think, oh, those are just graphics that are attached on, but everything is painted on. So I think with the exception of Woody's stickers in one of the windows, all the details you see, the striping, different patterns is all painted on, which takes a long, long time. But that also leads to a lot of cool Easter eggs, though, too. So if you were to open the doors on the Buzz Lightyear car, the bottom of the door is red and white pattern, just like the wings on the Buzz Lightyear character. On the Jessie car, there's a lot of stitching on like the shoulder length or on the shoulder spot of the seats. Porsche's never done that before. That's kind of tied into her outfit. And then with Woody, it's a blue car, but there's 3 different paint colors were made for that color. And then to give it a denim feel, like Woody's character wears jeans, Porsche actually took denim and kind of pressed that onto the wet paint, which you would probably never do with a production car, but they did it for this, which is just super cool. So I haven't seen the cars in person, but from everything we were told, if you look at the cars in person, there's just no shortage of Easter eggs that I'm sure kids would pick up on, or older fans would as well.
What was the thinking behind the pairings of the characters and the vehicles, and what were some of the design details that stood out to you?
Yeah, so I think it kind of seemed like each car kind of matches the character. So for the Buzz Lightyear car, it's a 911 RS, which is like the top tier performance spec. It has a huge wing, so that is like an obvious, that's like a home run fit for Buzz, given that the character has wings that come out of the back. So I think that one made a lot of sense. Jessie car is a Carrera, it's an open top. So that kind of, or target top, I should say. And, that kind of leads well with the painted red, so it matches her red hat. And then Woody, is the classic 911. Woody's the old-fashioned toy, the timeless classic. I think that's kind of why they picked that one. Each one just kind of has details that I think highlight the car, but then also the character they're trying to, pair it with, if it makes sense. I think the Buzz one's probably the one that's like, oh, that's like a, makes all the sense in the world. And with the Buzz car, that's probably my favorite. I think probably one of the reasons I like it the most is the tires are Goodyear tires, but Goodyear actually made a special mold that says Lightyear, which is just so cool. And that's like obviously a nod to the character and Pixar, and one of probably the most iconic names out of the whole Pixar universe. So that is super neat. There's also a bunch of Easter eggs on the tires themselves. I haven't seen them in person yet, but hoping to one day be able to take it in. So super cool stuff.
As a Pixar nerd myself and a father, you can see in so many Pixar movies, not just the Toy Story movies, that when you see tires and the brands of the tires, it almost always says Lightyear. So that's so cool. It's, Pixar is a movie studio, a film studio that loves its Easter eggs, and it sounds like this is staying very true to it. I also assume, not to overload with Pixar Easter eggs here, but the Buzz car, it probably cannot fly. It's also probably frown upon any trying to fall with style at the same time.
No, this one will keep you grounded, but that's what it's meant to do. But I should note, one of the Pixar folks mentioned, so it's the 911 RS, but they would like to call it the 911 SR for Space Ranger, which again is just like, it's like these cars were meant to be reflecting Toy Story characters, which is super fun.
Now, you mentioned that with previous versions of this same kind of thing, that they've sold the cars for charity, that there's a philanthropic piece to this. I assume that's also true for these cars.
Yes, so the 3 will be sold to a private seller or sellers in the coming weeks. Porsche didn't have all the details yet. We'll be getting that later in the summer. They won't be auctioned, so unlike the Sally car, they'll just be sold. I'm guessing we'll get information in the coming weeks or so, but I'm guessing it'll still be for, if they share the amount, I would imagine it's going to be a pretty big number. I'm not sure if it'll be quite as big as the Sally car, just given that was taking an actual character and making it into a car, whereas these are character inspired vehicles. Having said that, if you're a grandparent that has a Toy Story enthusiast grandchild, or if you're an older millennial with a lot of money, the sky is the limit on that one. So what do you phrase, reach for the sky or reach for the stars? I think maybe we'll speak to that. But it'll be super interesting. And the charities that they're supporting are Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, the American Red Cross, and Starlight Children's Foundation. So again, Porsche back with the Sally car that went to charity, and with these, they're really spreading the philanthropic efforts for sure.
Yeah, sorry, kids. I probably won't be in this one. We probably will not be taking home one of these at our house, at least, but I'm sure they will go to a good home. Now, Jack, as a business podcast, we should probably get to the business angle here. You know, this isn't a major move by Porsche, but I think that there's something to it. You know, what does this do for Porsche? What does this do for their marketing, for their brand awareness? What's the goal for them?
Yeah, it definitely seems like a kind of almost a natural marketing move, given the cars connection. So these 3 cars were all at the red carpet premiere. Obviously, red carpet premieres are a pretty big, or it's a high profile event with a lot of eyeballs. Having 3 of your cars parked right up front is probably going to get a lot of attention. But it just seems like a really, kind of uniquely Porsche marketing play. I don't think every car maker could do this. I think if another brand whipped up some Toy Story cars, it might feel kind of forced or kind of just not overly authentic. And I think, with Porsche, it's a little bit different, again, given the cars connection. So, it got a lot of media coverage. A lot of my colleagues at other publications did a lot of cool stories on it. So, and on social media, this is like, perfect for a TikTok or an Instagram reel to really show the coolness of the cars. So, I think it's probably a way for Porsche to put their name out there in a unique setting, but then also kind of like what we were talking at the beginning, it's something that really crosses many generations. I mean, if you're a child 6 or 11, you're going to have interest in Toy Story. If you see pictures of this, you'd be super excited. If you're an older millennial, like we are, you remember when those movies came out. And then if you're a grandparent, you want to keep everyone happy too. So it's one of those things that I think really speaks across, a whole range of ages, which is cool. And at the same time, it also, speaking of the business case, it does show the strength of what Porsche can do with some of their like one-offs or some of their bespoke offerings. Making a paint that feels like jeans is really neat. And again, I don't know if they'll do that often, but if you're a Porsche customer and you have the bank account, they might do it now. So, or they know that they can do it. So in another way, I think this is definitely a marketing move, but it also really shows the strength and the ability of Porsche's, bespoke team, which is something cool. I think that's probably something that not every brand can do, and I think that's definitely noteworthy here. So it's cool that it took the form of a Buzz Lightyear car, a Jesse car, or a Woody car. So all good fun. And I should note on the Jesse car, one cool detail, they made up a new paint color. So it's supposed to symbolize the pearls on her outfit. So it's now called Jessie White Metallic, I believe, which is really neat. So maybe, who knows, maybe the order book will one day include that pink color for future Porsches. So.
We can only hope. That's so cool. That is, I mean, the idea of paint that feels like jeans is just like, that's the kind of innovation that geeks me out a little bit. And I think you hit the nail on the head, really, with the social media aspect of this. That seems like automakers are really looking for ways to get that like real earned media and reach new audiences. And you're right. This is perfect for TikTok or Instagram. So, Jack, really appreciate you covering the story and coming on the podcast to talk about it. Thanks so much.
Yep. Anytime, Jake. It was super fun.
And you can read all of Jack's reporting on this and other stories at autonews.com. Thanks for listening to this bonus episode of Daily Drive. We'll be back on Monday with a brand new full episode of the show.